President William Ruto's first year in office witnessed unending fights and political contestations that pundits say derailed the implementation of his plan. From street protests led by the opposition to flexing of political muscle in the National Assembly during the passage of the controversial Finance Act 2023. Although the national dialogue has brought relative ceasefire, it's not clear whether the lull will become an effective, long-lasting one, going by recent public pronouncements from both coalitions. Stephen Latour reports.
The streets in various parts of the country have encountered ugly scenes for the better part of President William Ruto's first year in office. A determined opposition mounted vicious anti-government street protests across the country, demanding the lowering of the cost of living. The Raila Odinga-led opposition fashioned their demonstration as people-driven, basing the protest on the high cost of living occasioned by rise in prices of basic commodities.
The Kenya Kwanza regime has been characterized by a litany of failures, litany of misses and near misses. Okay? And the misery of the common person who have been subjected to untold suffering by the failed policies of this regime.
The reasons that we are giving, we are just a face. The real reason for the protests, the real reasons for this chaos that we saw, and I can tell you that in confidence, is that they wanted a share of power. They tried to say the emissaries, we refused. Because the Kenyan people spoke last year, and we are not going to allow a situation where we conduct an election, we spend colossal amounts of public funds, then we come back again to say we want to sit down and share the spoils of power.
As Azimio coalition, we take pride in the fact that we have been able to keep the Kenya Kwanza regime on its toes, even under very, very difficult circumstances.
The political grandstanding and the subsequent street battles resulted in deaths of tens of opposition supporters at the hands of the police.
You came confused, Uhuru Kenyatta, Big Four, got lost. We ended up in BBI, we ended up in debt. Today, you are sponsoring anarchy with your sponsor and handshake brother, so that you can enslave this country. I want to promise that you will not succeed again.
We have seen a government which is essentially hell-bent on turning the clock of change and taking the country back to the very, very dark old days of the Kanu Moi one-party state. We have seen unprecedented levels of police brutality.
It is important that we value the lives of the Kenyan people, and that is what the president did by stopping this chaos. The continuation of chaos was a continuation of loss of lives also, as much as also livelihoods. We could not just watch as the opposition misused the Kenyan people.
Azimio coalition, in a change of tack, increased the frequency of protest from 1 day a week to 3 days every week, every Wednesday, Thursday and Fridays, in what appeared to be a move aimed at whipping the opposition supporters to submission. MPs allied to Azimio leader Raila Odinga were arrested, among them Embakasi East lawmaker Babu Owino.
The government should let opposition do its work. We were not going after anybody. We are just fighting for the cost of living to be lowered, of which if they just lowered the cost of living, there would be no protest. And they were using too much force on us. Why would you arrest a member of parliament at night, take him to an unknown destination, while you can summon this member of parliament because you know he's not a flight risk?
And Parliament of Kenya, let me tell you, we even have private members' bills, where as a private member, you can come up with change of law because it is allowed. And therefore, protests were not a way of airing grievances, and especially through the kind of front they were giving.
That parliament, we can paralyze it in a day. Let the leaders be strong. Let them provide leadership, because we can paralyze activities of parliament every day.
What followed was the withdrawal of security of opposition MPs and Azimio leaders.
Look at the way the hitters shot at us like as if we are thieves.
Our securities were all taken away. Is there anything genuine in that? There's nothing genuine. Baba's securities have not been given back to him. Every other leader in opposition whose security was taken has not been given back to them. So why would we go for these talks if small things like that we cannot achieve?
The push and pull between the two factions triggered loss of public funds running into millions. The destruction of the Nairobi Expressway by protesters resulted in the loss of approximately 700 million shillings, as per Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen.
The kind of destruction we were witnessing on public facilities and assets was monumental, and it was unjustified. We couldn't go on like that, and we were losing both in terms of physical destruction, but also in terms of sentiments of doing business.
However, a relative ceasefire has been witnessed since the two leaders agreed to have bipartisan talks for the second time, brokered by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo. The recent negative tone by the Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio coalitions towards the bipartisan talks ongoing at the Bomas of Kenya only point out to another year of unending fights between the two coalitions, even as President William Ruto prepares to step into his second year in office. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV, Parliament Road, Nairobi County.